But Brandon, let's end the podcast going through our 1 through 5. The tippy top. This is the last segment we will ever have on a big board for 2018. Not until 2019. We may do a way too early big board right after
sure you'll make
the
us.
NBA draft. But let's start with you over there. Take us through 1 through 5, starting at number 5.
All right, number 5, Jaren Jackson Jr. from Michigan State, the center. At number 4, Mo Bamba. I know somebody else doesn't have him at number 4, the center from Texas. At 3, Marvin Bagley, the third, the center from Duke. At number 2, Luka Doncic from Slovenia, the point guard. And at number 1, hasn't changed at all, DeAndre Ayton, center from Zona.
Did your top 5 change at all?
I don't think it did.
Let me look.
I don't think so.
Let's see.
Maybe.
For the 3.0, you had Ayton, Doncic, Bagley, and then you had Bamba Carter. So you had Wendell Carter in your top 5. Now
Okay.
Wendell Carter has fallen a lot out of your top 5. But to go into mine, number 5, the guard from Oklahoma, Trae Young. Then at number 4, Marvin Bagley the third, the big man out of Duke. Then at number 3, DeAndre Ayton, the big man out of Arizona. And some of you might be going, wait, what? What? Ayton at 3? What does that mean? That means Mo Bamba's at number 2. Mo Bamba, number 2 on my big board. Number 1, Luka Doncic, the guard from overseas. I want to start with Mo Bamba. Had a ridiculous combine when it came especially to the measurements. Not only is he a 7-foot center, I believe he set a record for this. He has a 7'10" wingspan, Brandon. 7'10". What are you thinking about Mo Bamba coming out of the combine?
Well, also don't forget that people are falling in love with his personality too. They're just loving it. You already are there.
I was well ahead of that train. I saw that jump interview and I was like, I wouldn't be mad if the Bulls traded both their picks to move up for Mo Bamba. Would not be upset whatsoever.
Here's what I think, and the last time that we talked about Mo Bamba, I really want to stress that, is that this guy is probably the best shot blocker in this class.
Yep.
I mean, I think you could pretty much say almost hands down. And his defensive ability, it's golden. The last time we were talking, we talked about why is it that people say you can't build around a defensive guy. We got some comments. We got some people to chime in on that, and I thank you. It makes sense. It makes sense why. It makes more sense why. But this is a guy that if he could just, I think, refine his shooting a little bit, refine
which he's already doing.
His mid-range jumper just a little bit. He's already got a soft touch at the rim. This guy can be really special.
You know what? I've already said it. And basically me putting him at number 2 is, 1, putting my money where my mouth is, and number 2,
how much money you putting? We
got a comment in, I can't remember if it was a Fast Break or a Primetime podcast, but I've said this before, that first off, I feel like his ceiling could be an Anthony Davis type player, a player that can get it done defensively, can get it done if he develops an outside shot, can be a guy that, I'm going to hit it from 3, I'm going to hit it from mid-range, I'm going to have that light touch at the basket closer in. Now, the thing that I've gone in and I've said that, hey, you know what, he's, to me, 5-10 years down the line, we're going to be looking at this going, man, Mo Bamba was the best big in this draft. And we had a comment, and that comment, I can't remember who it was, but they said, why, like, if Ricky's saying he's going to be the best big 5-10 years down the line, why doesn't he have Mo Bamba as his top-ranked big in the big board? And I saw that comment, and I went, you know what? He's got a point. And that's why I did what I did today, where I made Mo Bamba my top big man off the board, because I don't think that he's the best player in this draft to where he's going to be the number 1 pick. I think he could be. He could be in that discussion. I think Luka Doncic, number 1, he is the best player in this draft. Then Mo Bamba is my best big, because, like, DeAndre Ayton, there's questions about him. There's questions about Marvin Bagley, we've brought those up to ad nauseum. Mo Bamba to me, it's like, I bring up Anthony Davis, but I'll bring up another one. He could be like a Joel Embiid, where it's like, man, there's a lot of potential, but I don't know if a team's going to have to bring it out. Of course, it's him ending up in the right spot, but I mean, Mo Bamba to me could be that one that's kind of molded and puts in the effort. Like you mentioned, people are falling in love with him with interviews. The thing I love most about him is when he mentioned, like, yeah, the best thing about it now is I get to just work on my craft and work on my body. If you're going ahead and saying that, and I know players can say whatever they want, but like I hear him say what he says, and I'm like, I don't think he's lying. I think this is a guy that is going to put in 110% to make his body the best that it can be, so that he's not putting in anything that's going to be poisonous like a Big Mac every now and then from McDonald's. But I mean, to me, that is why I put him in number 2. I've talked about him being the best big man. Now I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm ranking him as my best big man off the board.
Yeah, again, that's one of the other things. Everyone has said it. He knows it. He's got to get bigger. He's got to add more muscle, especially to his lower body. He's got to be a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher. And it is his physical toughness. That is going to be one of his biggest questions. It has been already. So I think that if he's able to bulk up, that is going to be cleared up. That is going to go away. And there's going to be another positive over into his corner. Mo Bamba, again, a lot of people, especially over that combine, there were a lot of people that just fell in love with him. You were one who was already going and buying him roses before it, because that's how much you love the guy. So these are all positives for him. It makes sense for you to put him where you put him at number 2. I'm not shocked by that at all.
Here's the next guy I want to bring up, and this is a guy that, just to kind of say where we thought he might be and where he was, all right, the Ringer did change it. So they changed his height. So Trae Young, he's a guy that took a lot of flack at the combine, kind of almost the same reason why we talked about Zaire Smith, was when it came to the measurements, Trae Young was, I believe, 2 inches shorter than everyone thought he was. Like, 6'3", 6'3". Well, in shoes, he ended up being about 6'1" and a quarter. So people are looking at it going, oh, he's 6'1" instead of 6'3", and like you look at the wingspan that he has. He does have a 6'3" wingspan, but he's 6'1". His hand length was about 8 inches. Body fat 5.35. What are your thoughts with Trae Young and how people thinking, oh, maybe like with him being shorter, is he really going to be that guy we want at the next level, or will he get stifled by NBA defenders in the NBA?
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't do much for me.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because I don't think that the 2 inches is going to do a whole lot, because it's not going to affect his game at all. It's not.
Do you think it, affect, that's a key phrase, affect his game. Could it affect him, though, with an NBA-type defender? If someone does, basically, I'm going to put the situation, if someone does what the Clippers did to Lonzo Ball at the beginning of the year, of, all right, young rook, we're going to put Patrick Beverley on you, who is basically our defensive specialist at the point guard position. If a team does that, does this height difference make a big difference in your mind that, like, oh, maybe a guy who's an elite NBA defender might be able to shut down Trae Young now at the next level?
He'll just have to shoot it from farther, which he's
got to cross half court though first,
which he doesn't mind doing. But no, I think that maybe he just has to get a little bit more creative then with his shot and shot selection. But I don't think that it's going to change up a whole lot for him. What Trae Young was already doing, I mean, he's doing against, guys of decent size in college. So I don't think that it's going to affect him all that much. I think he's still going to be able to do what he does in terms of driving with the ball, dishing it off, all that kind of stuff. That's not going to change in my mind for Trae Young. So I don't worry about it. Do you?
It's a little bit of a worry. And the reason why is, I say kind of, because it's not like, oh my God, his draft stock is dead in the water. I would still take him top 5 if I was a team that needed a point guard. But the thing I look at is, and I'm gonna make the side by side comparison again because we've done it this far. Why stop now? Look at Steph Curry, who everyone wants to compare him to. Steph Curry's 6'3". So it's like, what if Steph was 2 inches shorter? Would Steph still be Steph? And that's a question will never be answered. That's a hypothetical what if. But I mean, now I'm looking at the Bleacher Report article, and their exact quote is, Young's combine measurements show he doesn't possess the prototypical physical traits, though. Is that true? Yes. Like, you want your point guard to be, even like Steph at 6'3", people are going, maybe about 6'4". Can we have him at 6'4"? That would probably be ideal. But I mean, having the smallest wingspan, having the 6'1" height, it's not dead in the water, but I look at it and I go, all right, you're behind the 8 ball. And it's going to be one of those things for me where it's like, how do you overcome this? This is one of those things where it's like, life is throwing you lemons. Are you going to make lemonade out of it, or are you just going to take that bag and go home and not make anything out of it? Trae Young, to me, will be that player that makes lemonade out of those lemons, because that's the type of player he is. He will find a way, in my mind, to overcome this and succeed at the next level. Is he going to be a superstar? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But the thing that I like most about him is what I've been saying the entire time. He's got the shooting. Like, people say, oh, he's a volume shooter. Yeah, that's because Oklahoma had crap around him. Like, I use that Rhode Island game as the example, and I know it's only one game, but it was the perfect game. I'm just going to shoot it because whenever I pass it to a teammate, it goes out of bounds.
Screw it up.
The ball doesn't help us if it goes out of bounds. So if it misses, at least I can say I put the game in my hands. I know exactly like what that mindset would be. But I mean, the thing I look at is his passing ability is phenomenal. This is a shooter's league, and he's got the shooter's touch. Why would you pass up on that? Why would you pass up on a guy that could be one of the most dominant shooters potentially that we've seen since Steph Curry? Like, I wouldn't do that. If I needed a point guard or had a need for a point guard, I would be taking Trae Young in the draft. I'd be taking him top 5. But what do you think about that? Is there anything that you need to add to that?
Well, I just wanted to say again, maybe I am not as worried as I should be, but I agree with you a lot in terms of Trae Young is not the type of guy who, if there is a challenge, he's not going to just let that affect him.
Yeah.
At least not in a negative way. He'll let that affect him in a positive way. He'll go and he'll change it. You know, he'll be better. He'll be craftier. He'll, you know, maybe we'll see him have to, you know, drive a little bit more, you know, which isn't a bad thing. So I think that, you know, that's, again, to me, it's still not, I haven't seen him yet, again, obviously, in NBA action. None of us have. But if we do, and it seems to be like, oh. But then there maybe, it's not even a cause for concern, but maybe then you have to change something. But until then, I'm gonna continue to say, no, I don't think there's really any issue there.
Last thing I want to bring up in this top 5 has to do with the guy I have at number 1, the guy you have at number 2, and that's Luka Doncic. We were originally going to mention this on the fast break, but then everything came out with the Suns trade rumors, the Grizzly trade rumors, plus Sean's a guy where, I'm going to flat out say it, Sean said it's a smokescreen, we don't have to worry about it. And although I agree with him that I do believe this is a smokescreen, there's nothing really to read into it, I want to kind of throw out, for the sake of argument on this big board, a kind of what if. Because last Friday, the 17th, ESPN released an article, and it said, Luka Doncic undecided on joining NBA next year. And here's the exact quote from Doncic. He said, I'm not sure if these are my last 2 games in Europe. We have yet to make this decision, perhaps after the season. Now, Sean's on this side. I also am on this side of, this is just Luka Doncic saying, you know what, I don't want to take anything away from my Real Madrid team that I'm playing with. I don't want to be a distraction to this team. That's why he said that. But what I want to ask you is not whether he will or won't he come over. What I want to ask you is, what if the situation is he won't come over? He's not going to make his decision. Let's say, for the sake of argument, he pulls out of the draft completely. Says, you know what? I'm not coming over to the NBA. I'm going to stay in Real Madrid another year. Or just says, you know what? I'm going to stay no matter what. And you can draft me knowing that. Kind of a Ricky Rubio situation. When he was drafted, Timberwolves drafted him, and he stays overseas. How do you think that would affect the draft if Doncic said, I'm definitely not coming over next year to the NBA?
Is Trae Young going too?
Do you think?
I mean, is Trae Young going too? Someone's going to need. I mean, Doncic is that point guard that people are looking for.
Do you think Trae Young then slots right up?
I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily know if that's the case.
Or do we see the run of big men at the top?
People are going to look at, okay, they if they need a shooter, they need a point guard, and all of a sudden, what's his face? Doncic is gone. Does Young come right up because you're the next best point guard on their list? Okay, that guy's gone. Cross him off. Trae Young, you're up. Maybe.
It's interesting. This is an interesting topic for me because, like I said, don't think it's going to happen. But, I mean, bringing in a little bit of the NBA side into this kind of topic is that there's also articles that there's, first off, the Suns that are at number 1, they're not sure what they're going to do with that pick. Are they going to take Doncic, who Doncic is the coach at Phoenix now, who just got hired from Utah. He used to coach Doncic on the Slovenian national team, so there's that connection. But then you've got their GM saying they want a big man, so there's Ayton. Then you got their GM saying, fuck it, we might even trade the pick altogether. So to me, they don't know what they're going to do with the pick. They could flip a coin and be happy with that. Then number 2, number 3, there's reports saying that both the Kings and the Hawks are like, yeah, thanks, no thanks. We're not drafting Doncic no matter what. So to me, it goes to a fact of whether they have a big man in their mind, and it goes, you know what? If Doncic is not there, Ayton goes 1, Bagley goes 2, big man X, whether it be Bamba or Jackson, go 3, or if it becomes a big man, and then a team like the Hawks go, well, Doncic ain't there, let's go with Trae Young.
Well, what about, I mean, you said that 2 teams already said, you know, that's nice, we're going to pass on you anyways. What if we saw every team do that? What if, because of what he's saying here, because of the potential that even if he does say no, even if he comes back, recants on that, says, okay, yeah, I'd want to come, but then not knowing, okay, does he stay? Does he actually come? If teams stayed away from him altogether and he doesn't even go in this draft.
Well, and the exact thing, this is from Bleacher Report, says ESPN's Jonathan Givony reported Sunday there's a belief among some NBA decision makers that the Kings and the Hawks, who have the 2nd and 3rd overall picks respectively, could pass on Doncic in favor of American front court players. So to me, if Doncic just doesn't come over, then this kind of answers that, to where it's like, we'll see. The Suns go, well, we're not going with him. We'll go with Ayton or trade the pick. So Ayton. Then the Kings and the Hawks, whatever, we're going to do this anyways, Bagley Jackson or Bagley Bamba, and go boom, boom, to where Trae Young doesn't even move up because teams in the beginning just favor those front court players like Ayton, Bamba, Jackson, and Bagley.
Well, you don't know. I mean, you don't know at all. That
could be a smokescreen in general.
That could. And I mean, that has to be something that probably comes down to within the last couple of weeks. If you know, I mean, when does he have to know? When does he have to let teams know that he's going to come?
See, that's the thing. And maybe someone in the comment section, I'm going to throw it on to you guys for help with this one, because the international side, I don't know if there is the rule, if it's the same as the college, because like in the college players at the combine, there's some date in the next like week or 2, I believe, after the combine, to where it's like, okay, by this date, you got to let us know whether you're in the draft or pulling out. I think it's 2 weeks after the combine they have to kind of make that exact decision, because now the NBA draft lottery is all set. The orders where they're at. They did their combine thing. So it's got to be either this week or next week is that deadline. I'm not sure. I would assume that the international players are in those same rules, but at the same time, the international players are in the special boat also of, you can draft me. You can draft my draft rights. Like I said, Ricky Rubio did that. The T-Wolves drafted him, had his draft rights. The Bulls did it too with Mirotic. Yeah, we have your draft rights, but I'm going to stay overseas. So, I mean, he could do that. He could either pull out completely or what most international players do and just say, nah, I'm not coming over right now. And then, boom, you just have his rights basically for those many years. And I believe that contract then starts that first year he comes over.
Can I be honest with you?
Go ahead.
I think that is stupid. Why would you want to draft an international player then because of all that BS?
Some guys do it.
I wouldn't do it.
Some guys do it. I know that the two that I'm thinking of off the top of my head were Rubio, stayed overseas for a little bit before coming over, and then you had Nico, because one of the guys we knew in college was always like, "Oh man, wait for this guy." It was how'd we say it back then? Morotic. Oh, this guy Morotic is gonna come over, and then we find out it's Mirotic. But any final thoughts on any of the guys in the top 5? We didn't talk about Bagley, Ayton, Jackson.
No.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section about Mo Bamba, about Trae Young, about anyone in our top 5. But that's going to do it for the Primetime Podcast this week. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you like the podcast, want to help support us, want to come on a podcast in the future, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Our store link is down below in the description. That's where you can get yourself an MVP t-shirt. Mostvaluablepodcast.com is where you catch MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, you're on Apple Podcast or iTunes. Go give us a 5-star rating and type in a nice review. We still have that one review saying we're just some good old boys that talk about SEC football. And today, I don't even think, besides mentioning Colin Sexton's name, I don't even think we talked about no, Kevin Knox was technically an SEC player. So we did talk about the SEC a little, but we didn't really focus on the SEC today. But thank you guys for watching, either if on YouTube or listening on podcast services around the world. But as always, have a good day, everybody.